Part 1. The Meeting. My name is Emma Lewis. I am 34 years old and I live in a small apartment in the city. My life is simple, quiet, and sometimes a little bit lonely. Every morning I wake up early, make coffee, and look out of my window. From my window I can see the tall buildings and the moving cars. The city is always alive. People are always in a hurry, but even with so many people around, I often feel alone. I work in an office as an assistant. It is not a bad job, but it is not exciting either. I answer emails, file papers, and make reports. I sit in front of a computer for many hours every day. I smile when I need to, talk politely to my coworkers, and do my work carefully. But inside, my heart feels empty. Sometimes when I eat lunch alone, I see other people laughing together. They talk about their families or their weekend plans. I just sit quietly, eating my sandwich, pretending that I don't notice. At night, when I come home, I cook something simple, maybe soup or rice. Then I read a book or watch an old movie. My small apartment is clean but quiet. Too quiet. There is one picture on the wall, a photograph of a river with an old oak tree. I took that picture many years ago. Every time I look at it, my heart feels a little heavy. That tree reminds me of someone from a long time ago. But that was another life, another me, a rainy evening. It was a Friday evening in November. The office was cold and rain was falling outside. My boss asked me to finish a report before leaving, so I worked late. When I finally looked at the clock, it was already 9:15 p.m. "Oh no," I whispered. The last train. I quickly packed my bag and ran outside. The rain hit my face. I held my small umbrella, but the wind kept turning it inside out. My shoes and coat got wet. I ran down the street to the train station, trying not to slip. When I entered the station, the big clock on the wall said 9:27 p.m. The last train to my hometown left at 9:35. I had only 8 minutes. I bought a ticket and hurried to the platform. The station was almost empty. Only a few tired people were waiting. The floor was wet and shiny under the lights. I sat on a cold metal bench and breathed deeply. My heart was beating fast. I wiped the rain from my face with a tissue. I looked around. Everyone looked busy or sleepy. The train would come soon. To pass time, I took out my phone. No messages, no missed calls, not even a new email. Sometimes I wished someone would text me and say, "I'm waiting for you," but no one ever did. I looked down at my wet shoes and sighed. Fagia. Train. When the train arrived, it made a loud sound. Steam rose into the air. The doors opened with a hiss. I stepped inside and found a seat by the window. The train was half empty. As it started moving, I looked outside. The city lights grew smaller and smaller. Soon, we were passing dark fields and small stations. I took a deep breath and leaned my head against the glass. The sound of the train wheels was soft and steady. Clack, clack, clack. It almost sounded like a lullaby. For a while, I just watched the rain run down the window. My thoughts wandered to my childhood, to my hometown, and to the old oak tree near the river. That tree, it had seen everything. My laughter, my tears, my secrets. And Daniel, that name still had power inside me. A voice from the past. "Excuse me," a voice said. "Is this seat taken?" I opened my eyes quickly. I had closed them for a moment without realizing. A man stood in front of me. He was tall, wearing a dark coat and holding a small travel bag. His hair was dark and a little messy. His face was calm but kind. For a second, I thought he looked familiar, but I couldn't place him. "No," I said softly. You can sit. He smiled. Thank you. He sat down beside me. The train was quiet except for the rhythmic sound of the wheels. We sat in silence for a few minutes. Then I felt his eyes on me. I turned my head slightly. He smiled again. Emma, he said carefully. I froze. My heart started beating faster. How do you know my name? I asked slowly. He smiled wider, a little shyly. It's me. Daniel, the world stopped. Daniel, the name echoed inside my head like an old song. I looked closer at his face. The same eyes, though older. The same small scar near his eyebrow. Daniel, I whispered. I can't believe it. He laughed quietly. It's really me. Years fled back. For a few seconds I couldn't speak. I just stared at him, remembering everything. Daniel was my childhood friend, my first love, the boy who knew all my dreams. We grew up on the same street. We played by the river, climbed trees, and shared ice cream on hot days. When we were teenagers, he gave me his old camera. He said, "Take pictures of everything you love." He was always full of dreams. He wanted to travel the world, take photos of people and places, and show the beauty of life through his lens. When he got a scholarship to study abroad, I was proud and broken. The night before he left, we met under the oak tree near the river. The air was cold and quiet. I'll come back, he had said, and when I do, I'll find you. I believed him, but time passed. 1 month, 1 year, then 2. No letter came. I waited, then I stopped waiting. I told myself he must have forgotten me. Maybe he found someone else. I buried those memories deep inside. And now, 15 years later, he was here, sitting next to me on the last train home. The first words, "I can't believe it's you," I finally said. "I know," he said softly. "It feels like a dream." He looked out the window, then back at me. "You still look the same." I laughed. "You're lying." "I'm older now." He smiled. "We both are. But I'd know you anywhere." Something warm moved in my chest. Something I hadn't felt in years. We started talking. At first, small things, work, weather, how fast time goes. Then slowly, we talked about the past. He told me about his travels. He had lived in many countries, taking photos for magazines. "It sounds exciting," I said. "It was," he said. "But sometimes, even in the most beautiful places, I felt lonely. Like something was missing." He paused, then added softly, "I think I missed home." I looked at him carefully. "Home or someone at home?" He smiled, the same soft, warm smile I remembered. "Maybe both." The arrival. The train began to slow down. The speaker announced the next station, our hometown. My heart beat faster. "I didn't know you still lived here," I said. "I don't," Daniel said. "I just arrived today to visit my mother. She's not well." "I'm sorry to hear that." He nodded. "Thanks. And you? Why are you going home?" I smiled weakly. "Just to rest." I needed a break from the city. When the train stopped, we both stood up. People were getting off quickly. The air outside looked cold and quiet. Daniel turned to me. "It's late," he said. "Do you need a ride?" "Oh no, thank you," I said quickly. "I'll take a taxi." He hesitated, then smiled. "All right, but maybe we can talk again? Tomorrow?" I didn't answer right away. My heart was still racing. He looked nervous now. "At the old oak tree," he said softly. "At sunset?" I felt my breath catch. The oak tree, our place. I looked at him for a long second, then nodded. "Okay." He smiled with relief. Then I'll see you tomorrow. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept hearing the sound of the train and seeing Daniel's face. After 15 years, what did this mean? Why now? Was it fate or just a strange coincidence? I didn't know. But deep inside, something told me. This meeting wasn't an accident. It was the beginning of something I thought I had lost forever. Part 2. The Memories Return. The next day was cold but bright. Emma woke up early. She looked at her reflection in the mirror. Her hair was messy and there were little dark circles under her eyes. She hadn't slept much. All night she had been thinking about Daniel, his voice, his smile, his eyes that still looked the same as before. She made a cup of tea and sat by the window. The streets outside were quiet. She remembered the oak tree, the river, the laughter, and the promises they once made. "Will he really come?" she whispered. At 5 p.m, she put on a soft blue sweater, the same color Daniel once said looked beautiful on her. She took the small road that led to the river. The sky was orange with sunset light. Birds flew across the water. The big oak tree stood tall, just like before, strong and quiet, its branches moving gently in the wind. And there he was, Daniel. He was standing under the tree, holding his camera. He turned when he heard her footsteps and smiled. "You came?" he said softly. "I said I would," she answered. For a moment, they just looked at each other. The air between them felt heavy with memories. They sat on the grass. The river moved slowly beside them, carrying fallen leaves. Daniel looked around. "Everything feels the same," he said. "Even the air smells the same, fresh and calm." Emma smiled. "Time doesn't change this place." "But it changed us," Daniel said quietly. Emma looked at him. "Yes, it did." They were silent for a while. Then Daniel said, "Do you remember when we used to swim here in summer? You always won the race to the other side." Emma laughed softly. "You always let me win." "No," he said. "You were faster." They both smiled, and for a short moment it felt like they were young again. Then Daniel looked serious. "Emma, I need to tell you something. When I left, I really wanted to write to you. I wrote many letters, but I never sent them." "Why?" she asked softly. "I don't know. Maybe I was scared. Life got busy. I moved from one country to another. I told myself I'd write when things calmed down, but they never did." Emma looked at the water. "I waited, you know." For years, Daniel closed his eyes for a moment. "I know. I'm sorry. I thought about you all the time. Every time I saw something beautiful, I thought, Emma would love this. But I didn't have the courage to come back." Emma's voice was soft. "You could have just written one letter." He nodded, his eyes full of regret. "I should have. I was foolish." The wind moved through the trees. For a few minutes, neither of them spoke. Then Daniel said, "Can we start again, Emma? As friends, at least?" She looked at him unsure. "I don't know, Daniel. 15 years is a long time. People change." He nodded. "Then let me show you who I've become. And maybe you'll see I'm still me." She didn't answer, but she smiled a little. "We'll see." Part 3. The heart remembers days turned into weeks. Emma and Daniel started meeting often. Sometimes they walked by the river. Sometimes they sat in a small cafe near the station. They talked about simple things, books, music, movies. They laughed often. But sometimes silence came between them. The kind of silence that is full of unspoken feelings. Daniel started taking pictures again. He took pictures of the town, the people, the oak tree, and even Emma when she wasn't looking. One afternoon, Emma said, "Why do you take so many pictures of me?" Daniel smiled. "Because you look real when you don't know the camera is there." She blushed and looked away. "You always say strange things." "I mean it," he said. "You look like home." One evening, Daniel invited her to his small house. It was near the edge of town. The walls were full of photos, deserts, oceans, mountains, and smiling faces from all over the world. He made coffee and showed her his favorite pictures. "This one," he said, pointing to a photo of children playing in the rain, "was taken in India. And this one," he smiled, "is from Africa. But no matter where I went, I always felt something missing." Emma looked around the room. "You've seen so much of the world." "Yes," he said quietly, "but I never found peace." Then he looked at her. "Until I saw you on that train." Emma's heart felt heavy. "Daniel, don't say things you don't mean." "I mean every word," he said. She looked down. "It's not easy for me, Daniel. I built my life around being alone. I'm scared to open my heart again." He took her hand gently. "I won't rush you. I just want to be here, near you." For the first time, Emma didn't pull her hand away. A few weeks later, something happened that changed everything. Emma received a call from the hospital. Daniel's mother had fallen and was very sick. She went with him to the hospital. Daniel looked worried and tired. Emma sat with him all night in the waiting room. When his mother woke up, she smiled weakly at Emma. "So you are the girl Daniel used to talk about?" she whispered. "I always knew he would find you again." Emma felt tears in her eyes. Later, Daniel said, "You were here when I needed someone the most." "Thank you." Emma smiled softly. "That's what friends do." Daniel looked at her and said, "Maybe, but you are more than a friend to me." She didn't answer, but deep inside, she knew. Her heart was beginning to remember how to love. Part 4. When Love Comes Home. Spring arrived slowly. Flowers bloomed by the river. The days grew warmer. Emma started helping Daniel with his photography. Together, they opened a small photo studio in town. They called it Oak Light Studio. People came to take family pictures, wedding photos, and portraits. Emma managed the business side, and Daniel took the photos. They worked side by side every day, and laughter filled the small space. Sometimes Daniel would take her hand suddenly and say, "Let's take a break," and they would go for a walk near the oak tree. One afternoon, Daniel brought an old envelope. "I found these," he said. Inside were 10 letters, old, yellowed papers. Emma looked at them. "Are these the letters you never sent?" He nodded. "Yes, I wrote them all for you." She read one slowly. It was simple, full of love and longing. Tears filled her eyes. "You really did think of me," she whispered. "Every day," he said. Months passed. Their love grew quietly, naturally. One evening, Daniel said, "Emma, come with me to the river." The sun was setting, painting the sky in gold and pink. They stood under the oak tree, the place where everything began. Daniel looked at her and said, "I don't want to lose you again." Emma smiled softly. "You won't." He took something from his pocket, a small silver ring. "I don't know what the future holds," he said, "but I know where I belong, right here with you." Emma's eyes filled with tears. "You found your home, Daniel." He nodded. and you are mine. He slipped the ring onto her finger. The river moved quietly beside them, and the oak tree stood tall, watching like an old friend. They kissed under the soft evening sky, and the wind carried the sound of the train far away, the same train that brought them back together. Epilogue. A year later, Oaklight Studio became famous in their small town. People loved the warm, gentle photos Daniel took. Sometimes new couples came to take pictures under the oak tree. They didn't know the full story, but Emma and Daniel did. Every sunset, they sat together by the river, watching the light fade and the stars appear. One evening, Emma whispered, "I used to think life gave us only one chance to love." Daniel smiled. "Sometimes it gives two, if your heart waits long enough." They held hands as the sky turned dark. The last train passed in the distance, and the lights from the town shone softly like tiny stars. And in that quiet moment, both knew love always finds its way home.